Marc Silverman is the co-host of Silvy and Waddle, the very popular ESPN 1000 radio show in Chicago. And Silvy joining us on the program. When did you realize that what you were going to talk about on Monday was going to change after the interview with Scottie Pippen?
Right after your interview was done. We obviously were on this. As you joked yesterday, Dan, this is a gift to Chicago sports radio. And so we thank you for that personally. Friday, we were all over it too. And the joke, Waddle has always said to me, he's the former Bear. He's lived here forever. So he's a Chicagoan, but he doesn't get what we get. For me as a sports fan. And then I covered the last 3 Bulls championships as a reporter, young reporter down the dial. That I always get worked up about Scottie, that a lot of the times I've defended Scottie. I have fought for years on ESPN 1000 about Scottie getting his due, that Scottie not being just a top 50 player, but being a top 30 player, Scottie being a revolutionary player. And then now all of a sudden I felt like a scorned lover. And it's really broken my heart regarding all the bitterness that he has shown. And your interview just took it to this whole new level that GQ couldn't go, especially with the way he was talking to you.
But he believes what he's saying, but nobody believes him.
Right. And it's kind of like a buddy, Dan. We all have him. We all know him, that he says, oh, this person in my life sucks. This person in my life is not loyal. This person in my life isn't good for business. Well, maybe if you've got all these people who are bad, maybe it's you. Maybe you need to look in the mirror. And I've always found it interesting. We know he hated Krause. They didn't love Jerry Reinsdorf as the owner, and he was the guy who signed the checks. But we always thought they had a bond with Michael and Scottie and Phil, and that they were loyal together, even if it was just with a common denominator of disliking management. But now Scottie thinks that Michael's selfish and that Phil was a racist. Who's left standing? And maybe it's Scottie that's the issue here. And I think it's sad. I really he wants to sell bourbon and he wants to sell books, but I just don't think that's a reason to go and ruin the relationships of one of the greatest teams of all time.
Yeah, I was just trying to understand the logic of all of this, and I couldn't help but go back to last April, Silvy. And if that documentary doesn't come out, is Scottie Pippen saying what he's saying this week?
It's funny because we had a great relationship with Jason Hare, the director, and I know he reached out to Waddle yesterday. They knew each other from BC. Jason, the director, was a BC ball boy, so he knew Waddle when he was a player. And I think he felt a little guilty at the way Scottie came across. And my whole rationale has been the documentary didn't make Scottie look that way. Scottie made himself look that way, just like Scottie made himself look that way yesterday. There are so many great things in Scottie Pippen's career. And I think, unlike others from the 90s, Dan, where you see this new way of playing basketball, I think the appreciation has grown for Scottie through the years, that we realize, wow, this guy was the first. This guy is exactly the way the modern day basketball player was. But, I think it's just an excuse going back to the documentary. And this whole notion that Michael commissioned it and Michael got the documentary he wanted. I'm a Michael fan. I covered Michael. I think after watching all the episodes, we come away saying, boy, Michael was kind of a bully. Michael could have been a big jerk. Michael, a lot of times, was in it for Michael. We still look at him highly, but I don't think that the documentary was a fluff piece to Michael Jordan.
What was your show like yesterday with local reaction?
It's full phones. Everyone wants to talk about it. We have a hot baseball in town. The Sox are good. The Cubs are good. We got Justin Fields finally. Maybe you'll have me on to talk about a quarterback that's good finally in Chicago. But yeah, I mean, this is and I reached out to Wilbon yesterday because I think he feels like me, and he said obviously being in Phoenix, it doesn't resonate in Phoenix. But in Chicago, just like a year ago, Dan, when we're sitting in the pandemic and we're rehashing arguments that are 22 years old or 25 years old, we're doing the same thing a year later in 2021. It's amazing and it's sad. I mean, again, like the 85 Bears, Buddy Ryan and Mike Ditka hated each other. And now maybe we're finding out that one of the greatest all-time American sports teams all hated each other.
But you're messing with a brand. That's what Scottie's doing. You're messing with a scrapbook for people. And I think that's what probably bothers fans is, no, we choose to remember this team, these moments like this. Don't disrupt this. Now all of a sudden we're looking and, Michael is orchestrating Steve Kerr's last-second shot against Utah, and Phil wanted Tony in there because he's white to take the shot, and that's a lot. That's a lot to unpack.
It's a lot to unpack, and I couldn't believe, like the Phil stuff, and they fought for Phil. All they did was fight for Phil, and now 20-plus years later, you're coming out. But the Kerr stuff, Dan. The Kerr stuff, I don't understand how you orchestrate something. All that is game planning. You know what? Orchestrating a play, whether it's for the cameras or not, you orchestrated a way to clinch a championship by finding Steve Kerr for the open shot. So it wasn't about making Michael look good. It was about winning that 5th title at that time and setting Steve Kerr up for the best shot, whether or not he was playing to the cameras a little bit more. Look, we all know athletes. They even say it when they get mic'd up. Sometimes mic'd up athletes are a little more outgoing or will play to the cameras. Brady's done it. Russell Wilson's done it. Maybe he was playing it up a little bit more. But what did it lead to? It led to a championship clinching shot that wasn't his. And I don't know why Scottie could ever argue with that.
Did anybody have a problem with John Paxson taking a shot against the Phoenix Suns? I mean, I go back and I start to do inventory here. Like, wait, who took the last shot? Oh, John Paxson. He's white. I mean, crazy.
It's crazy. And Dan, there's like to the point about the documentary and whether it was orchestrated. There's a very famous moment from the Bulls championship 91 video, the first championship against the Lakers. I'm a nerd like this. I watched this video like 100 times in college. And Phil turns to Michael in the 4th quarter. He goes, Michael, who's open? And Michael didn't answer. Then he repeated himself, Michael, who's open? He goes, Pax. And he goes, give the ball to Pax. And Pax ended up scoring 10 or 12 points in the 4th quarter to clinch game 5. They win their first championship. So, I'm all for orchestrating championships. I think we could all use more of those.
How's your quarterback situation there, Silvy?
I love it. Finally, I think I maybe have a quarterback that we can all love together. Like Pippen is similar to Cutler. They're both as polarizing as they come. So Jay, if you go in Chicago and you ask 100 people, did you love Cutler? Did you hate Cutler? You're going to get a 50-50 split. Another one of these sports radio things that if we open up, the phone lines would go crazy. The only problem I have with Matt Nagy is he's not giving the opportunity of Justin Fields to win the job. I didn't like that he said, no, Justin Fields has no chance. I get it. It's hard. And maybe he can't win the job right away and that Andy Dalton is better from the start. But give the kid a chance to win it. And I think you're limiting yourself by saying he can't win the job.
Glad you're doing better. My best to Waddle there. And thanks for joining us.
You got it, Dan. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
And you're welcome for yesterday.
Thank you again. We've always appreciated it. The gift.
Yes. That's Marc Silverman, Silvy and Waddle, ESPN 1000 in Chicago.